Hello Scorpio, here's your weekly horoscope for January 10 to January 16. As I mentioned last week, there were going to be some very challenging aspects in the sky starting at the end of the week and carrying through to this week, so here we are. So let's try to break it down and make some sense of it all. First of all, when Mars went into Taurus last week, it immediately squared Saturn, and then now it's squaring Jupiter as well all week. So the Jupiter-Saturn are only conjunct, I think, till about Monday, and then Jupiter's going to be moving away from Saturn. So let's break them down separately. First of all, when Mars squares Saturn, most people tend to run into some frustrating situations. We tend to never seem to have enough time. Things are delayed. There's a lot of problems that can be afoot with Mars square Saturn, depending on how it influences in your chart. Basically, we have old-fashioned Taurus in conflict with very futuristic Aquarius. So those two signs do not mix too well, although they're both fixed signs. When they get together, it's a bit of push comes to shove. Now, Mars squaring Jupiter as well tends to blow everything out of proportion. Whenever Mars and Jupiter are in square, that's usually when we've bitten off more than we could chew. There's everything just gets telescoped, everything gets blown out of proportion, and people get panicky, and nothing really positive can get done. Well, that's not entirely true, because to be honest, the Mars and Jupiter-Saturn squares both can be helpful to moving things forward. It's just that there's a lot of growing pains on the sidelines with it. In general, these squares will eventually help everybody move forward. And for you, Scorpio, unfortunately, there is the more possibility of confrontations and conflicts this week with different people. Mercury moving into Aquarius doesn't help. It tends to make for arguments and disagreements. Aquarius is not the most open of the zodiac signs. They tend to keep things quiet and to themselves, and Scorpio tends to be secretive. So when Mercury in Aquarius is squaring anything in Scorpio, a lot of secrets can come out. Things that were not intended to be said or learned about. So some surprises are still afoot this week. With Uranus making a station in Taurus on the 14th, at least as it moves direct, there will be a lessening effect as time goes on of these kinds of unexpected surprises, rebellions, insurrections, and things like that. These should dissipate a bit as we move more into the spring. For now, things are going to be dicey still for a couple weeks. I would recommend that you, in all signs, try to avoid confrontations and conflict when you can, because there's just a lot of other people just being very overblown with aggression and demanding they be heard and they have rights to, and all this. This is going on in the backdrop of these squares, which indicate frustrations and conflicts. Some good news, at least when the moon moves into Pisces and conjuncts Neptune by the end of the week, that's positive for Scorpio. It tends to push Scorpio into their spiritual interests, sometimes creative interests, and as well, you want to have more emotional connection as well with people. If there were fights or disagreements early in the week, by the end of the week, likely you're making up. Although Scorpio can hold a grudge, they don't like to have conflicts. If they're going to be the loser, for sure, they don't want to have conflicts. But they certainly will not be dominated by others. So that could be at the root of what some of the issues are that may be occurring for you this week. But in general, the week does end on a good note. We also have Venus traveling through Capricorn, which does soften the aspect a little bit for Scorpio and might have you having more interactions with friends and loved ones, again, more by the end of the week. I hope you have a good week ahead, Scorpio.